Hello, this is Dr. Igbinosa, the lecturer. Welcome to the short course on the origin of God, 2nd to 27th October 2023, lecture note, day 5. The week's theme is the everlasting Father, and the context of our lecture learning and thought: tell them about my origin and why I made the decision that I made, says God Almighty. The title of subject 5 is Lecture Summary. We are going to be summarizing with a dedicated question for the week 1. We're going to be summarizing our lectures from day 1 to day 4. And so let us go through the dedicated question for week 1 together. What is the great decision Jehovah God made by himself while still alone in the pitch blackness? How should that knowledge impact us today? What is the great decision Jehovah God made by himself while still alone in the pitch blackness? How should that knowledge impact us today? In sending in your answer to this dedicated question, and I encourage you to do that, consider key phrases. There are some key phrases for you to consider. The first is heavy pitch blackness. Day 1 lecture. Refer to day 1 lecture. What is this heavy pitch blackness? Revise it, describe it, so that way we will all have respect for the Most High, who alone can exist in such an environment. None of else can. So consider the heavy pitch blackness. Second, consider the realization, day 2, the realization, how the Almighty came to a gradual halt and realized himself existing alone in the universe. Consider it, think about it. In answering the dedicated questions, put all these in context. Consider also the recognizable contentment, day 3 lectures. Day 3 lecture, the recognizable contentment. Remember, the everlasting God saw in himself contentment, a contentment that is recognizable by his radiance, his pleasures, and his knowledge. So recall, revise this key phrase. And finally, consider the unchanging reality, that great decision that the everlasting God made or reached, that unchanging reality. So in answering the dedicated question for week 1, what is the great decision Jehovah God made by himself while still alone in the pitch blackness? How should that knowledge impact us? Consider these key phrases, and in 2, 3, 4 sentences, send your response to the dedicated question for week 1. And remember, it is all within the context of lecture learning and thought. Tell them about my origin and why I made the decisions that I made, says the everlasting God. So please revise your lecture notes, send in your thoughts, your answers to the dedicated question, and see you in the next lecture in week 2.